Hi guys, so today I want to share with you my 5 top tips for going through a transformation journey that will help you go through the process feeling at your best. Why do I want to do this? Well, I want to do this because there was a time when I was doing the transformation journeys myself and I was actually suffering. And the point is, if we go through a journey and we're suffering, it's not sustainable. So I am here to share with you how I've found the sustainable way of dieting, and that will help you make it easier reaching your goal whilst feeling fantastic. And if you don't know me, my name is Emily and I am a body transformation coach. I help women lose weight and find themselves in the sustainable and healthiest way possible. So really, when I started my transformation journey years ago, I actually suffered so much, and I can't tell you how difficult it was. So I really sympathize with people when they say they're struggling, because at the end of it, not only had I developed an eating disorder, I really didn't like who I was, and my body, I didn't like it even though it looked incredible. So for me, this topic becomes a very, very passionate thing to talk about, because I know that there's a different way of doing things. So the first thing I want to share with you today is that you have to embody the process that you're doing, which means you have to actually want to do the things that you're going to be doing. It's always a choice. And this was the big thing for me when I realized that I made myself feeling like a victim whilst I was doing my first ever prep, and it was very disempowering. So if I changed it and said, I choose to go on this, I choose to diet, I choose to train, I choose to focus on my sleep pattern, I choose everything, all of a sudden it changed the meaning in me, and by feeling empowered, going through the process was a lot easier than it needed to be in the first place. So that covers the mindset of things, but the second thing that is probably one of the most important things that you have to be nailing is planning your days in advance, because ultimately you want to know when you're going to be eating and what you're going to be eating, because at the end of the day, if you are getting hungry and you haven't planned what you're going to be doing and you have nothing to actually eat and you have to come up with something on a whim, you are going to try to rely on willpower. And the thing is, with hunger and willpower, hunger is always going to win. So you will go for the snacky things that would be non-beneficial for this journey, versus actually cooking a whole food meal with loads of vegetables and lean proteins. So planning is really, really super important for you to be successful long term. And then probably the obvious one, you have to be in a caloric deficit. And that means that you will have a baseline metabolism and you will have a baseline of activity levels, which we're going to set targets here, and your goal is to have a slightly higher output than input, because ultimately there is a law of energy balance which states that you can't lose weight unless you're eating less than you're burning. So a caloric deficit, for as long as it's needed, it's super important, and that is why this is number 3 on this list. And number 4 is really about training. Now, you can lose weight without exercising, but the benefit of training, and especially I would say resistance training, is that you are going to be losing weight from fat more easily, because when you're in a caloric deficit, your body is trying to reduce your entire mass. So if you are resistance training, you're actually reducing the risk of losing lean mass, so muscle, which is super, super important for your metabolism, for your health, for your well-being, and for your body composition. Guess what? If you want to look toned, you need to have some muscle. So resistance training really is important if you want to go through the process without damaging your muscle mass, but also to feel better and also to be able to eat more, because a body with more muscle tend to have a greater need for calories. So it means that you don't have to diet as hard by having a few sessions in every week. So training is super important. And the 5th one is actually more about mindset, because ultimately you're going through a transformation journey, which means you're trying to achieve a physical goal. But a transformation has to happen on the inside as well. So we don't really want to have this thing about, oh, I have an end goal in mind. That's great. But we have to understand that in order for you to reach that goal, you need to step into that person who's going to look that way. What does that person look like? What does the person eat like? How does the person carry himself or herself? How many hours does she sleep? What does she do to make herself be exactly where she is that time? And really it comes back to the whole thing about embodying the process. But you need to embody the person you need to be in order to have the body that you want. And that means that the sustainability of the process becomes so much easier, because now you're not having the thing about, oh, but once I've reached my goal, I'm going to go back to my old ways. She doesn't exist anymore. You're becoming a new person when you go through this journey. And the more that you can start to embody this journey, you're not going to want to go back to the old self, because you see that that old self, she did a lot of self-destructive things. She didn't really take care of herself, and she didn't look the way that she felt confident in. So why go back to that behavior? So those are my 5 tips for how to go through a transformation journey sustainably and successfully. Now, there are many more tips that I could be giving you in terms of setting yourself up successfully on a transformation journey. So what I've done, I've created a training step-by-step guide to transform your body. And if you want it, please just leave a comment below or DM me personally and I'll send it to you and you can get going on your journey. But these were my top 5 tips on how to do so successfully whilst feeling amazing whilst doing it. I'll speak to you soon.